Now, one of the things that I truly do enjoy about prequels is that a really good prequel will take a concept introduced in a main film and then expand upon that concept. One of those concepts that we kind of got the framework around but wasn't really fleshed out in Mad Max Fury Road was the idea of the milkers or the breeders in Immorten Joe's Citadel. We saw a brief snippet of them in the beginning where we see Immorten Joe essentially drinking the milk that they are producing, and then of course we get a shot of them turning on the water and allowing Furiosa to rise up back into the Citadel. But that was essentially it. Furiosa takes that concept and actually expands upon it and shows you just how absolutely fucking sickening Immortan Joe is as an individual. Essentially, these breeders started out as wives. Now, the wives of Immortan Joe are there for one purpose and one purpose alone, which is to have a full life child for him who will inherit his throne upon his death. And there have been a ridiculous amount of women that have become wives of Immortan Joe. Some of them, now, before I talk about some of them, you have to understand that there are individuals who sign up to essentially become one of Immortan Joe's wives, and then there are individuals who do not sign up and who do not consent to be his wife. Immortan Joe is a very, very sickening man, where it is very much explained that the wives that we meet in Mad Max Fury Road, while some of them are, you could say that some of them have basically accepted their station or their reality because they essentially get to be pampered and live this privileged life within that of the Citadel. There are many of them, for instance, like Splendid, who does not like her station inside the Citadel at all, and who get beaten and essentially assaulted by Immortan Joe on a nightly basis with the intention of Joe impregnating them to end up having an heir. But what happens to the women who are unable to produce a full life for Immortan Joe kind of gets revealed in Furiosa, which is the breeders, or the ones who produce the mother's milk that we see in Fury Road, are essentially the failed wives of Immortan Joe. Now, you would think that their job, once they fail him, are essentially to just produce the mother's milk that he can trade to the Bullet Farm and to Gastown, but it gets so much more darker and disgusting and more nefarious than that. Because once they fail him, he strips them of all of their privileges. He also strips them of their identity, which is why when you see them, they're wearing the face cloth over their faces to hide most of their features, and they are essentially used for two purposes. The first purpose, of course, is to produce the mother's milk, that is a delicacy that is essentially traded to the Bullet Farm and Gastown along with the vegetables that they grow at the Citadel. The second purpose is to basically fill the role of the title that they're essentially given, which is breeders. He throws these women essentially to the wolves. He throws them to the older war boys to essentially have children with, to create more war pups to continue building and expanding upon his cult. So these women who fail to essentially give Immortan Joe the full life child that he is essentially looking for are doomed and consigned to this role where they are repeatedly abused and assaulted by all of these different war boys with the intention of continuously giving birth to children with defects, such as Nux, who has a cancerous growth defect on his neck, or for the most part, a lot of the defects that you see the children have who are war boys working on the rigs, such as facial scarring or growths upon their bodies. They are forced to continuously have these children and then have those children ripped away from them and raised to be war pups. And even more sickening is that there is in that scene where they are essentially being milked, you see a few of the women holding these wooden dolls instead of babies, which is, the wooden dolls are there to signify that they just gave birth essentially. It's kind of a way to deal with the postpartum of instantly being separated from your child. So they cradle those wooden dolls as they would a newborn who's essentially been stripped away from them and taken somewhere else in the Citadel to eventually be raised and used and thrown away by Immorten Joe as he basically expands his control over the wasteland. This is one of the things that I really enjoy about Furiosa. Like I said before, it is always great when a prequel doesn't take notions from an original film and instantaneously throw it away, or doesn't take a notion from an original film and dumb it down, but actually takes that idea, expands upon it, and shows just how messed up, callous, and a horrible human being this individual that you get introduced to in a mainline film actually is. But if you've made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.